welcome to the Recorded Podcast, episode, is it 17? Man, we're up to quite a few now. Yeah, I'm Brandon.
I'm Ethan, or Kel.
She wasn't ready. And,
Give me a second, Jesus.
So, yeah, we have special guests today, the one and only Megan and Jorge Lacera. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, hello. So,
two
yeah.
And only, maybe?
Huh?
The two and only?
Oh, I don't even know what I said. I just let it. Oh, my bad. Oh, shit. All right, redo now. I warned them before we started that this is completely unprofessional and relaxed, and I don't remember what I say half the time. I listen back on the podcast every now and then, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm still a little jarred from work. So yeah, you guys want to explain what you guys do and what you guys have created and what the plans are? Or...
Sure. We don't do anything. No.
Oh, okay. Thanks for listening, everybody. That's been episode 17.
Have a good night.
Bye.
It's good listening. You go ahead.
Okay. So I'm Jorge Lacera, and myself, along with my wife Megan Lacera, who is the lady who is talking. Say something.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. We together we are like a duo. We wrote and illustrated a book called Zombies Don't Eat Veggies, which is a picture book. It's illustrated. I illustrated it, and Megan wrote it. But we've been kind of collaborating together for a couple of years now on a variety of different projects. Anything from animation to video games to books and toys. Yeah.
You might also
toys too. I didn't know
and
that.
Toys, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
It's
cool.
kind of where we met. We met at American Greetings, and which are like the creators of Care Bears and Strawberry Shortcake and My Pet Monsters, all these 80s toys, and so or brands really. So we were helping to develop those brands but come up with new stuff. And so then we took all those toy lessons and brought them into other things, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's interesting because that was my first job out of school, out of art school, and I met Megan and became friends with Megan before there was anything romantic between the two of us. We worked together, so kind of explains why we've just kind of continued to work together.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's us.
And you guys are absolutely awesome to see in person. We talked about it earlier before we started recording, but Brandon and I actually met Megan and Jorge in person at PAX South. And you guys led a panel that I thought was incredibly informative, and it was
It
a
really
lot
was.
of fun.
Oh, cool.
And you guys are super personable, and I just wanted to, thank you again for coming on the podcast because you guys are fantastic. I work at a bookstore, and we've had your book in the store. And the first time I had someone come up to me and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a book," my first response is, "Sure, what's the name of it?" Blah blah blah. And they were like, "Zombies Don't Eat Veggies," and it's by and I'm like, "Oh, Jorge and Megan Lacera. Yeah, I've met them. Doodle-doo-doo. It's right over here."
Really?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I not to brag or anything. No.
Whoa.
It's a
That's
service
so
industry,
cool.
all right?
Hey, whatever
That's so
sells
cool.
books. Yeah. Speaking of which, I have the book in front of me now, and I love it. As soon as we got it, we read it like that second, the second it came out of the box. And my daughter, she has an interest in learning a different language, and right now it's in between Spanish and Japanese, which are
Cool.
it's very different. So when we started reading this book, there's Spanish mixed in there, like little dashes here and there, and I think it's great because then we got to learn what those words mean together. Like I knew some of them, but my Spanish is a little rusty. My wife Tiffany, who you guys met at PAX as well, she can actually read the book and completely comprehend on like what's what in Spanish, and that was pretty neat. It was a good little bonding experience.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. First of all, please say hi. I thought she was going to be on here, so please say hi to Tiffany.
Oh yeah, she early in the early episodes she used to be on because of her work schedule, but she works thirds now, and
Oh, geez.
Yeah, we would have to record on a Tuesday or Wednesday for that to happen. But I mean, we can make that happen
Okay.
next time. If you decide you ever
Okay,
want to
yeah.
come back.
We'll have to do it again for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
That's such a cool story about the bookstore. And first of all, like, congratulations, you guys, for starting the podcast and already being on episode 17.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's really awesome.
I know. I'm
And
kind of kicking myself in the
Thank
pants
you.
because we've missed, I think, like 3 weeks so far, and I was like, man, this could be like episode 20, or
no,
I don't know.
you're doing great. So many
Don't
people
think of
start
what
and like
could have
they do
been.
like 3 and then they're done. They kind of.
Mm.
So you guys are doing great, and we totally remembered you from that PAX panel, and this is just really cool that like people evolve and change, and it's cool to like connect with you guys again. And
Yeah, and support people
Yeah.
that are doing cool things. And I'm glad that we met at the PAX. That PAX was really a fun event. I mean, I don't know. We didn't really know what to expect of that. We'd been to PAX East.
Yeah.
I went there both as a, for fun, and at the time that I went to PAX East was when we were launching BioShock Infinite, which was the game that I was the
Oh,
concept artist on.
Yeah.
And so it was. I worked both sides, like both. I was a booth babe, and I was
oh,
also
hell yeah. One thing that I for some reason it's ingrained in my brain because it was just such a cool fact is when you were chatting with me about my book that one night months ago. I don't remember that. It was like a 45-minute call, and we're talking about BioShock Infinite, and the one thing that just stuck with me, and just no reason, you said the reason that was such a light colored game and everything was bright was because the original BioShock games were just so dark and damp, and were actually creating this like mental strain on people. Or you said it better. It's like you were noticing that, or you guys did like a study, and they were noticing that players were like having a more depressing time. Not because of the game, but the atmosphere. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of we did a lot of research and post-mortem of the first game and just data that came back. And one of the things that
And the second.
and the first and the second game, and one of the things that came back was sort of this idea that people are more likely to engage with the game and stick with it if it's a sort of overall pleasant environment to be in. Especially, if you and it makes total sense if you think about it. You come home from work, you're tired, you want to play a game that's sort of engaging, but you also don't want to be stuck in a gloomy room for hours on end. And so that definitely became part of one of the the reasons that we chose to kind of make it this open air and very pleasant environment to be in. And also it was sort of a challenge. How do you make bright sunlight, beautiful blue sky terrifying? And that was sort of another really fun challenge on that.
I didn't even think
People
about
on
that.
a zip line with no safety net. That's how you make it terrifying.
That's cool.
Exactly.
I
Totally.
have to admit, I binged that game like you would not believe. I was in college at the time when it
Mhm.
came in grad school actually. And not a whole lot of time when you're working and in grad school, but
No.
that was a Friday to Monday morning binge, have to get this done, have to get this played
wow.
kind of thing. And then I stopped right before the last chapter because I didn't want to like rush through it right before I went to class or whatever, or went to work. So I set it aside and I didn't have time to pick it up until the next weekend. That
Mhm.
entire week, all I could think about was, oh hey, that photo that looks like that part of Colombia. Oh, that looks like, oh hey, that bird, bird in the cage, haha. And then nobody would get the joke because nobody else gamed. But it was so cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's interesting, how pieces of art and media that you consume can kind of really start to kind of influence every or kind of affect the way you look at the world. And I think that's one of those things that I'm really fascinated by, and especially now. I mean, I guess you could always binge a game. You could, I think that's maybe the natural way to play a game. I remember binging Mega Man, when I was a little. So it's interesting that like games you've always been able to binge, but now TV you can binge. And when you do that, it does sort of, when you escape, when you emerge, the world is funneled through that prism of that piece of media you just consume. So that's awesome. That's happened to me, with games and shows. We just finished Mindhunter season 2. Have you watched that?
Oh, yes, I'm halfway through.
Oh my god! So don't give it away. But
No,
that
I
show
won't.
is so good.
That's one of those shows that has a way of
Oh.
getting under your skin, and then you're kind of looking at people and going, "You look normal.
I know.
What else is going on?"
Yeah.
But
What
when
if
you
you really do?
consume media, no matter what way it is, movies, games, books, etc., it does kind of become a part of who you are
Mhm.
as far as like your experience and things that the way that you see the world because media is I mean, it's a way to relax, but it's also a way to kind of express yourself, especially in games. Excuse you.
Mhm.
No, I'm kidding. Um, but it becomes a part of your psyche, right? And it does affect your mood and things like that, especially empaths, empathetic people, because it's so easy to immerse yourself so deep into the character. Even though the main character in BioShock Infinite is a 30, 40 something bounty hunter type, dude, and he's flying around on his skyhook and he's, catching ammo every 5 seconds from this, cute young girl in a cute dress, that kind of thing. I have no real world connection to that, but the way that the game was built and the storyline and the graphics and like you were saying, the darkness is you kind of resist that because we don't live in a world of darkness unless you're a Morlock, I guess. But it's easy to immerse yourself more in that than it was in the original BioShocks, the first two BioShocks. And I think it just becomes a part of who you are. I'm not a zombie who likes peas and carrots and radishes, but the book is so cute. It's so adorable. I'm not even really a veggie person. I'm a carnivore, but
Mhm.
it was easy to get into and easy to love. And then all of a sudden I found myself thinking, I could go for some Brussels sprouts right now.
Oh my god!
Oh, whoa, that's huge.
You need to get that to us, and so we can reuse that quote.
You just blew their minds. Holy crap.
Whoa.
Transcribe it or something. Something.
I love that transition from BioShock Infinite to Zombies Don't Eat Veggies was amazing.
Yeah, welcome
absolutely.
if you've I don't know if you guys have heard any of our other episodes, but yeah,
Yes.
if you think that transition is bad, woo, well, I've got some news for you. Yeah, we travel all over.
Yeah, you
Um,
guys are great. You guys are great. No,
um,
it's Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
I was no. Go ahead. Mine's not anything.
No, I want to hear what you want to say, but no, it's true. It's like, and that was with the book, and like, I think actually working with media a lot is what you said, Gelf, is like it really can influence you both for positive and negative ways, but like with little kids, we were really hoping, like, how do you attract kids? We're carnivores too. We eat meat and we eat vegetables, but we were trying to get our son to eat more vegetables because he wouldn't eat any when he was little, and that's a pretty common problem.
Yes,
But
please
he
help
loved.
me.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard. It's so hard. Um, but
Cover
they're
them
just
in
not
peanut
appealing.
butter.
Yeah, it's peanut butter sandwiches every day and pizza and but
Heck
he
yeah.
loves zombies.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
love pizza.
me too.
Yeah, I'm down
It's
with
very
pizza.
appealing. Or like he loves zombies, or he loves these worlds, and if you can get a kid into a world, and feel like they're a part of it, then they might want to try a part of that world too. And so that was really the goal there. So I do think it can be used for good and for bad,
Yeah.
but hopefully we can focus on the good.
Yeah, and I think that it's sort of the power of storytelling, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's you're using these tricks and tools to become the I don't know, the candy that gets you excited about continuing to turn the page or to play the game or whatever it is, and you're just kind of hoping that people take something away from it as well. I know that we definitely had the idea that we wanted to increase Kai's intake of vegetables, but if we had just sat down and written a book that was like, how do
Eat more broccoli.
vegetables are awesome and this is why, nobody would read that. Nobody would be interested in it. So we made sure that we focused on the narrative and a story that really connected to us beyond just the vegetables themselves. The vegetables could be anything,
Yes.
but in this, it's really about a kid that's different, that is trying to express to his parents that he's different. The parents are maybe not listening to him because of some cultural biases that are happening. And what does he do to break through to that? And that's when we looked at it from that point of view, it really clicked. And really, going back to what you had said about Bioshock Infinite, yeah, it is about this kind of grisly, bounty hunter dude and this lady that's tossing you weapons and you're digging through trash cans a lot. But it's also this sort of universal story that's really about a guy that's lost in a way, trying to find something that he thinks is going to bring meaning to his life, and then encountering a person that changes his perspective on the world, and then sort of about
Like
choices,
who he really is.
right? Who he really is, yeah, and choices. And so, I really believe in the power of stories to elevate ideas and to get people to think things, and to get them out, like you said about empaths, Gelf. Like getting yourself outside yourself. I think it's really important.
I think one thing, like when I'm playing a game, or I don't see, the thing is I don't read a ton of books, and I couldn't get into them when I was younger. My biggest thing is music. I'm completely absorbed and moved by music. It is, I call it my lifeblood. I listen to, I think on average, 12 hours of music every day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's just, that's the only thing that can really, like when I'm watching a movie and I focus in on the music, and it really, that's what immerses me the most is, and obviously you can't get that from a book, but at the same time, when I read, nowadays when I read a book, I can understand what the story is trying to tell, and like, especially with your guys' book, it's very well written and, laid out, and yeah, I just derailed my train of thought there, but yeah, I'm flipping through as I'm trying to talk and read, and but no, what I was going to say earlier, that meeting at PAX South was by total not random accident, but it was like when we went to PAX South, we had no plans on going to panels at all. We were just doing our thing on the floor, and we met up with a bunch of friends. That was actually the first time I met Gelf in person, and I think I've known Gelf for 5-ish years, I think, roughly.
Thereabouts, yeah.
And she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go do some panels, this and that." I'm like, "Okay, cool. We'll meet up with you later." And then we'd completely perused the floor and like, "Oh, let's go meet up with Gelf." And our phones don't work, so we're like, "Okay, she's in this panel or something." And so we're like, and me and Tiffany are like, just I don't really know if I want to do a panel, but let's just do this one. Gelf's going to this one. Let's just go see what this is about. And lo and behold, it was your panel. And I sat down, and we're just sitting there hanging out, and I tell you, it was pretty life-changing for me. It really opened my eyes in a lot of different ways. And I think I told you this there. I can't remember, but I was, there was a lot going on. But yeah, it was just, because I was making my book at the time. It's just a little coloring book. And yeah, I was like, wow, everything just makes sense now. Oh man. But
that's great. No, and the book is great, Brandon.
Yeah,
I mean, it's awesome. Yeah, it's cool. I mean,
I still haven't done anything with it, but hey,
No, for sure. I mean, it's about finishing, and you finished it, which is huge. And then now with the podcast as well. I think it's like whatever is an opportunity for self-expression. I actually have a friend of mine who worked at Irrational, who just put out a coloring book. I'll link you to her stuff later. I think you'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. Don't let me forget. I remember, Gelf, you're a writer, and so I want to ask you about that as well.
Sure.
But just to respond to what you said, Brandon, I do think, people think you maybe are a little like nutty or whatever, but I do think that. I mean, like me.
No. It's got to take it. I didn't take it personally. Go ahead.
Like things, I do think things happen sort of synchronistically, like I remember, since then we've done quite a few panels or talks and things, but that was one of the first ones that we did that was like a large forum like that.
That we did together.
That we did together. We had done things separately, and mostly through company stuff, like a panel, like you said, you've done a panel with Irrational, different talks with Irrational or Hasbro, but these were on our own. We did it. And I remember Jorge told me, okay, I'm going to apply to this. And we got it. I'm like, what? And then when we got to that room, I remember I was like, "There's nobody coming to this. Like, nobody is gonna come to this thing." And
Really?
oh yeah, I was just sitting up there like, "This is going to be so embarrassing because we are going to be sitting here and no one will come into this room."
Right.
And then what should we do? Like, go get something to eat? I don't know. And then all of a sudden, everyone started coming into the room, and it did kind of feel like, I don't know, the people that came to the panel were supposed to come to that panel. I don't know. And for us, I think we felt that way too. Like it was just a sort of important moment for us, like working together. And sometimes when you express something verbally that you've been thinking for a long time in terms of how we work together and what's important, it sort of crystallizes in your own head. Did anything that just makes sense that I just said? I
Oh,
don't know.
totally.
Totally.
100%.
Yeah. I
Okay.
do the same thing. I ramble, and then I go, huh, I don't know if I'm putting
Yeah.
I'm creating a bunch of pieces, but are they for a different puzzle? I don't know.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, oh, geez, this is actually being
It's one of
recorded.
those
No, but
Go ahead.
it's one of those things where you pick up like you pick up a box of puzzle pieces and you're just kind of chucking them over your shoulder and everybody's watching as they fall exactly into place. Then you kind of turn around and be like,
Oh.
does that work? Like, is that a thing?
exactly.
Okay, phew. All right. Well, now I got that out. So, how is your writing going, Elf?
It's it's a thing.
Yeah. Yes.
It's
That's.
I've actually lost a lot of time on my own projects. I haven't been working on them as much, but I've been working on myself a little bit more. Been doing a
Mhm.
lot of co-op writing. I've honestly been dealing with depression, social anxiety, kind of things like that more often than not lately. Lately
Mhm.
being the last like 3 years. But
Mhm.
um
Basically, my entire adult life. Yes.
yeah, pretty
Just
much, yeah.
just a little bit.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
But I have actually made like a lot of progress. Instead of writing, like I always took the approach that, oh, I have to get words down on the page. I have to get words down on the page. Well, I kind of took a step back and started approaching the idea of world building instead of necessarily writing the narrative.
Mhm.
So I've built up a couple of wikis, personal wikis for these different
Oh,
worlds that I
cool.
want to create and things like that, and I'm fleshing them out, and it's kind of one of those things that I can jump on when I'm at break at work and just
Mhm.
write like, okay, I'm going to create this kind of a race and where did they come from? Oh, they came from here and this is how they fit into the overall, biological arc, things like that. And then when I get called back to work or whatever, I've gotten something done. It's that finishing, okay, this is done for now and I can set it aside. Instead of worrying about, oh my God, I just got interrupted in the middle of a scene and I'm not going to remember what I was writing. And
That's
I
me.
have been writing scenes, but
Yeah.
it's been more world building than anything else.
That's awesome. I mean, that sounds perfect. And personally, I'm a big believer of, I know some people say you must write every day. I don't think so. And I think that working on yourself and is part of writing because I think, too many people put stuff out there and they don't even know who they are or why they're doing anything. And that's junk. So I think working on yourself is half of writing, personally.
I think it's important
Definitely.
to just being a person.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the things that most people don't give enough credit to. Maybe a lot of problems would be solved if people took more time to do more self work.
I've
And a
been
lot of that
I've
has
been
been
focusing on that
writing.
lately.
Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
that's fine.
Well, so I don't know. I don't know what they've heard on the podcast now because they said that they listened, but I'm not really sure which one. So I've been dealing with anxiety most of my adult life. That's why I made that joke earlier. But just last week I was completely diagnosed with anxiety disorders, and anyway, so with that medication, it has completely made me like laser focused, and now I feel that if I were to start like another book or something now, I feel like I can actually just completely, it's interesting because I'm able to like focus on building myself so I can do more of these projects. Yeah, because I had no idea what an empty mind was like until just last week. I'd lived with this jumbled mess in my head and I didn't realize what was going on. And I'm firing this and this and this and this and this, and I'd soon have 100 projects that I've started, but I
Mm,
haven't finished a single one. But now it's like, okay, if I just I can now like channel my inner fire. I have the ability to do that now, and it's fun and cool. And and that's sort of like what I'm trying to do now with the podcast and everything. I started this a while back, and like you guys are saying, you guys are congratulating us on, episode 17, and in my mind, I'm like, man, 17 isn't that much. Like, I'm playing this for the long game now, especially, and I want to do more with the channel, and, it's this is, I finished my book, and now that I have a clear mind, I can actually, work on this stuff. And like you were saying, just self-care is super important, and it really is. And we were actually talking just the other day. I really want to do just not an episode of a podcast, but just an episode in general over mental health and stability and all that.
I think it's the single most important thing any person can do. I think especially, I get a lot of questions from people who are starting out about advice, to get into the industry or to get into into books or
Creative
video
industry.
games or creative industries. I'm a creative person. What should I do? And I think I always come back to, like, know thyself. Like, take the time to know yourself. What are the things that you're interested in? What are the things that you gravitate towards? And really kind of tune in, because you're going to find out a lot. And I think that ultimately, more than anything else, that matters, because it's going to dictate and help you be happier. I think so many people fall into patterns where they end up doing things that they don't actually like doing. And it's because they don't take the time to tune in and say, hey, do I even really like this? How am I feeling about this? It, like you said, I definitely have moments where I feel like there's all this noise and clatter in your head because you have all these voices, not so your parents, your own societal,
self-doubt and all that.
Yep, like Megan said before, like, there's so many, I always am in awe of how many people on Twitter just like know exactly what to do all the time and are like,
right?
They just love putting it out there, like, artists, if you want to be successful, do blah blah blah. And I'm like, wow, wow, that is amazing.
It's so easy.
If I did that, it would not work for me at all, and I'm not sure for a lot of my friends, but sure, it's working for them, great for them. I think so many people have a specific way. Whenever I give advice, I always say, hey, this works for me. I am like, Guillermo del Toro had a wonderful quote. He said, they in the late 80s, they did an assessment of Mexico City. They were going to put all this money into the city and to renovate its infrastructure to make it a 21st century city, like this like futuristic city. And after they came back with the assessment, the city builders came back, and the company that they hired sat down and they looked at the assessment, and the guy said, we have no idea how this city is actually working. We don't know what's going on, but it's working. So there's nothing that we can recommend because we don't really know what's going on. It's like that episode of The Simpsons where it's like Mr. Burns has all the diseases and therefore he's fine, because they're all sort of balance each other out.
All the
So I feel like, creatively, and I bet if you were to like kind of talk to every single artist, they all have their own, or creative person, or even just human being, they all have their way of holding themselves together and moving through life that works exactly for them. And to hand out advice and say, hey, this is what you need to do, I can kind of guide you to maybe think about what might work best for you. And this maybe worked for me and it might work for you, but there's no way that I'm ever going to say like, hey, this is definitively the way to the path. Like Megan said, writing every day, that works for some people. For some people, they cannot write every day. They can, write for short bursts, and then they need breaks. Chuck Palahniuk has a great quote, which is, for those people that say, write every day, you don't go to the bathroom and sit on the toilet and hope that you have to go to the bathroom. You go.
Way to bring that one. Way to bring that one in.
I mean, it's Chuck Palahniuk. He's kind of like that guy.
It's so accurate though. Like,
did you guys ever do NaNoWriMo, the National Novel Writing Month?
We never did it.
I was I had been working on it for 10 years straight, and I was a 9-year loser. And this past year, I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And the first day I wrote 2,000 words. Second day I wrote 3,000 words. And then I missed the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. And I was like, fuck, I got to get this done. And in the last 6 days, I wrote 10 and 11,000 words every single day. And I made it to 62,000 words by the end of it. And I won, quote unquote, or whatever. And that was one of those. I'm a little bit of an 11th hour person, but there's this weird mix of inspiration meets desperation when it comes to writing. But it's also a little bit of I had something to say at that point. I had something, because writing, in my opinion, and like you said, this doesn't fit everybody. But for me, writing is I have something in my head that I need to get out, whether it's personal or whether it's a narrative
That's
or it's an
sorry.
escapist fantasy. It's okay. But there's all of a sudden I'll hit this thing where it's like, oh my God, I've got to get this out, and blah, 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 and I'll stay up until 4 a.m. and I'll just keep writing and writing and writing. And then like that's it. Like I'm done. Cool. Set it aside. I'll edit it later. Never happens. But you know,
That's
Totally.
I was gonna say that's exactly like when I was creating my coloring book. I would make some of those pages. All of them were complete freehand, like off the top of my head, complete improv. Nothing was planned, anything on those. And so sometimes I would just sit down and a page would come to me like 1 or 2 full hours, boom, it's done. Some pages, I mean, I would just draw like the beginning, and then I just couldn't seem to continue. Like, I draw something, erase it. No, I don't like it. Draw it, erase it. No, I don't know what it is. Like I couldn't find the right option, but I knew all the other ones were wrong when I saw them. I was like, that just doesn't, that's not it. Whatever it is, whatever I need to do, that's not it. And yeah, I would completely binge through. Like I would, make 4 pages across 3 days or something, and then I just wouldn't draw for like 2 weeks because I guess you could call it burnout, but it just, and then I'd be at work or whatever, out delivering mail, and all of a sudden I go, oh, that'd be great. And then I have to I get like a napkin or something, and I kind of sketch like a whatever it is at the moment, and then I try to recreate it when I get home, on my tablet. And especially with like abstract stuff, I don't know what it was. It was definitely a good outlet for me. And I honestly, I can't, it's weird because this is not what you're supposed to say, but I can't, it's not that I can't draw real life items. It's just I have a hard time with. I just want to make squiggly lines that look weird. I don't want to make regular stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Fine.
I read an article recently about this sort of drive to professionalize your hobby, and to make
especially in the
money out of
gig
your
economy.
hobbies. Exactly. And I feel kind of strongly that you wanna, you don't want to do that. You want to find ways to feel comfortable doing what you do. And
You are a professional artist.
I know, but I mean, kind of got like a weird something else going on. But I feel there's a lot of people online and a lot of
It's a
people.
professional booth babe. Sorry. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I do. That's what I do. We did have a woman dressed up like Elizabeth, which was really rather fascinating.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. She was really good. But anyway, I did
I'm
not
sorry.
dress up
It's
like
just
Elizabeth.
just you literally make money from your house. I don't know what are you talking about.
Well, I mean, but I'm saying like there's people online and in the world who just like doing stuff. They want to do creative stuff and they want to put it and share it out with the world, and that is their hobby. And I think the moment that you start to put it online, there's a whole contingent of friends and family and everyone that's like trying to angle in on ways for you to make money off of it. Like, oh,
Right.
now you got to
Right.
do this. Now you want to, and it's like,
Yeah,
wait. Like a lot of people are just trying to either enjoy their hobby freely and without any pressure. And then there's people who are maybe inching towards a professional career, but the pressure doesn't help right off the bat.
Yeah.
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was find the 2 things that you love doing the most in your life and get a job doing the second one. Because you want to leave that first thing that you love for you to relax with, for you to enjoy, for you to share on your own terms.
I've got
And
something on this.
it doesn't apply to everything,
No.
obviously, but go ahead.
So I always make jokes that like I'm a jack of all trades kind of character. I'm not an expert in any specific thing, but I know how to do a lot of different things. And I'm the type of person that, and this is exactly why I didn't push my book. And I used to make perlers, if you guys know what those are, little beads that you melt together and all that.
I love
that. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I used to make perlers before I had the idea of making a book. And basically, when I feel that something is complete or finished, mentally I just drop it. I just go, I I have taken this as far as I would like, or I'm I feel, and I want to move on to something else. I want to go do something else. I want to learn something else. So like right when I finished that book, which like if I sold a couple copies, which I did, cool, but the book was mainly for myself to begin with. So once I had a hard copy in my hand, mentally I was like, okay, this is done. I'm gonna leave it on Amazon for whatever reason. If hey, if it, like I said, if it sells copies, cool. But I'm not gonna push it because I'm done. And then now the podcast is on, and this is the cool thing about doing a podcast is that my job is never done, and it's always interesting. Every episode is better than the last, and it gets more fun, and it since my job is never done, then I just keep working, and I have something to do, and it's something that I really enjoy. I like delivering mail, but it gets a little tiring walking 15 miles a week, or no, not a week, a day. Sorry, 15 miles a day. Yeah, it's but yeah.
That's because you're a workaholic.
I really am. Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing,
No, it is a bad thing. I actually just put myself in the hospital because of it. So yeah, it's fine.
But it came out good. It came out well,
Yeah, it's basically, hey, Brandon, all right, it's time. You're getting a little old. You just turned 28. You just got to slow down.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, these are the end dates. Sure. 28.
I know. Yeah, no, we're not gonna go there.
Is that part of? If you don't want to answer this, that's fine too. But is that part of the anxiety diagnosis, or is that something totally okay?
Absolutely, yeah. It was something that kicked up about 3 years ago, and they diagnosed it as an emulated heart attack. Basically, I had every symptom of I had every single symptom of a heart attack except for the actual heart attack, and they had no idea why that was happening. Like, they had me hooked up and everything, and they was like, we can't tell what's wrong with this guy. And they gave me some like really wicked pain medicine, and it went away, and I went home, and it never felt it. 3 years later, I was at work just doing my thing as I do, and I started shaking, specifically my right hand started shaking pretty badly, and I was like, when we sort the mail, we had to put the mail in little, like, I don't know, 3/4 inch gaps, and there's a whole bunch of them. So I'm shaking enough to where I can't even get the mail in the little slot, and I was like,
wow.
And I had an easier day that day, and I told my manager, I was like, hey, can someone keep an eye on me throughout the day? I'm just, because I'm really stubborn. I'm gonna work until I fall over. It's just an unfortunate habit I have, and they're like, yeah, what's happening? And I raised my hands. I mean, my left hand was completely steady, and like, it looked like I was developing Parkinson's kind of thing. And she was like, no, you're not leaving the station. And I was like, damn it, I wanted to go out and work. And she wouldn't let me go, and my wife had to take me to the hospital. I was there for 4 hours, and the hospital actually misdiagnosed me, so that was great. Yeah,
oh gosh.
Yeah, they said it was they were like, oh, because the pain was on the left side of my chest, basically like my pec, and they were like, oh yeah, you just have some sore muscles, blah blah blah. And I told them, I was like, that makes no sense. You're out of your mind. And then a couple of different doctors came in, and they basically tried to convince me that this is what was going on, and I seemed like the crazy one in the room. I was like, no, this can't be happening. And I went to the doctor a week later, and I told them exactly what I thought it was and what I probably needed medication-wise, and they're like, yeah, and they asked me questions. They're like, yeah, everything checks out. And come to find out, it's called generalized anxiety disorder, F41.1 or something like that. And I looked it up, and it was like, yep, that is right on the nose. And like I said, I've been on medication for like a week now, and now went back to work on my birthday, so that was kind of weird. I was out of work for a week, and happy birthday! You get to go back to work on new medication, and it was a whole thing. But it just that medication alone it sounds silly, but it's opened my eyes a lot more, because I can actually absorb what's happening rather than just kind of phasing through the day with all this noise in my head and on autopilot for what seems like forever. But it's really cool because like, I enjoy my music a lot more. I I love looking at art, and it just sounds silly because you just scroll through Twitter or whatever, and some people just kind of like, oh, so and so's posting whatever, and I'm like, I always stop and I'm like, man, that is cool because that takes forever to make, especially when you're an artist yourself. And mind you, my detail is far less compared to the stuff that you guys make, and it's comparing artists, that's a big no issue as well, and I get that, but when it boils down to it, you guys have a lot more detail, and so when you see stuff like when you guys released your title of your book and your front page, and I was like holy crap, like that is so cool.
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
No,
I just went off on a tangent, sorry.
No, I mean, wow. I mean, thanks for sharing that. It sounds like a really, I don't know, like pivotal time for you, and it's so good that you, one, didn't, there are amazing doctors and not great doctors, right? And like
Right.
that, good thing that you didn't just accept the wrong diagnosis. And I don't know. I mean, it seems to me like maybe you can kind of have like a new chapter of life here. Like, it's pretty cool.
That's kind of how I feel. Because here in about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, Tiffany and I are planning on moving down to Texas, and we're kind of yeah. Well, hey, we gotta go get lunch. Yeah, I
Trade Dennis Rader for the yogurt shop murders. Yeah.
Yeah, we.
Sorry, my true crime fan just slipped out a little bit. We tucked that
I used to
back
live
in.
down the street from him when I was younger. So,
Oh my god!
right?
Wait,
knew him.
That's for another podcast.
Yeah,
sorry.
seriously. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was Kansas is weird. We don't have much going on, so we, everybody's a murderer around here. Anyway. I was gonna say, we've gotten to a point in, when you just kind of know it's time to go, or, I just say, over and over. We've outgrown Kansas. There's not much to do here. Especially with Tiffany's job that she wants to get into. There's a lot of openings in Austin. All of our friends are in Austin or around the area. That's just like it. We feel that it's time to move. It's, I've been in Kansas my whole life. I'm 28. It's
time to scooch.
It's time to go. It really is. It really is. Time to scooch.
I felt that way about school, because when I got done with college, I went back home to Minnesota, and I spent a year back home because I thought, oh, I'm gonna get a job, and I'm gonna save up money, and then I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do, and I'll probably go back to school and get my grad degree and da 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 da. And it felt like I was making my own plans and they weren't the right ones, and I stayed too long in that place. And it was like something out there was like, okay, Gelf, you gotta get moving. And a guy that I had graduated with messaged me and said, hey, you need to come to this school. Here's the application link. Just do it. And I was like, okay. All my eggs, one basket, took it for what it was worth. And I ended up getting in. And instead of doing the 2-year program, I stayed an extra year and got a Master of Fine Arts instead of just a master's degree. And
nice.
It was like one of those things where it's like, okay, get your ass in gear. Let's go. You've got, pardon my language, you got shit to do.
Yeah.
And it was exactly what I needed to do. So, I know that feeling when it's like, okay, it's time to go. And I've overstayed my welcome. I mean, my mom and I, we love each other, but God, we cannot live under the same roof for more than like 3 months, that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm missing opportunity. Not that I'm looking for anything. I just, like I was talking with Risu in Discord the other day. Like, I want to go see live shows, and in Kansas, there's just not really, the biggest things we have are, a movie theater and a bowling alley. Cool.
Yeah.
I've gone to the movies a million times. I've bowled 1,000 times. I'm a little bored. Yeah, and like I want to go to like art museums or art shows or whatever, and then we'll be down the street from PAX, and that'd be go have lunch with buddies. And I feel like, especially now with the podcast, being where it is, by the time that we do move down to Texas, we will have those connections, and we can just say, hey, we're in Austin, come hang out. Like, I want to get a studio. That would be great, so people can come down to the studio. We could have live interviews or whatever, and that's my end goal. That's why I'm so focused into this, because I'm like I can visualize it. It's gonna be great.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've moved a lot, so we
Yes.
know what that feels like. I think that there's certainly, you have to listen to that internal voice that's telling you, hey, maybe there's something else. You've outgrown your fishbowl, so to speak.
Right.
I grew up in Miami, and you know, I take it, some of the things that I grew up around, for granted, and it's just now that I'm realizing, like, wow, I was in a really kind of unique place. But man, at the time that I was growing up in Miami, it was like sort of a cultural wasteland in the sense of like arts, or just really anything outside of fashion, right? Like South Florida has always been like this huge fashion hub, and it's just like South Beach is like it's ridiculous. It was like I went to a school called Design and Architecture Senior High, and that was my high school, and there was a fashion program in the school, and it was just like in your
Booth
face
babe.
all the time.
Got it.
Exactly.
See, you see how this is all coming together.
It all
to
comes
just
together.
look
It all
Fine.
comes together.
It's okay. No one's here. We're not here to judge you, man. Just fine.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that.
We'll get a
Someone tell that
booth.
to Megan, who's quietly glaring at me over here.
I'm not. I'm just laughing because like.
Do you? This is a real serious question. Do you have an Elizabeth costume in your closet? I'm just saying.
I don't, but if you know of one, that's
I'll get you one.
I'm 5'10",
11, I think.
5'11".
Almost the same
With
height.
your, with your hair,
My
maybe
hair,
6
my hair
feet.
gives me.
I have
Anyway,
a
but
friend
I
who
knew
is
that
a cosplay designer, so we can make that happen.
this is getting too real now. It's like you get scared when it starts to become a reality. No, no, I knew I had to get out of South Florida. It was one of those things where I couldn't stay there. And so I went to school, on the West Coast, which was like a little bit further, and then ultimately I ended up in Ohio.
Which is everyone's dream.
I know.
And
It's funny
Megan,
because
you
we have a
grew
good
up
friend that lives in Ohio right now. I'm sure he 100% agrees with that. Oh no, he moved from there. Oh no, that's right, he moved. Oh, I totally forgot. I was thinking of Miller Gelf.
Oh yeah,
He-
no,
he
he's
was-
not in Ohio anymore.
Yeah,
He's in
yeah,
Texas.
he was in Ohio forever. Sorry, never mind. Joke's ruined. Sorry.
What
Yeah,
part of
Megan-
Ohio was he in?
You grew up in Cleveland, right?
That is correct. I'm very pleased that you remember that.
Well, when you guys did you guys when you guys were you guys both in Cleveland together when you met, or and then you guys moved down to Texas together, or I'm trying to get like a geographical map in my head of where everybody's kind of been. Not that it matters,
Yes.
but
Oh, wow.
just
She's writing
Yeah, no.
notes.
It will take no, it's more complicated than that. So yes, we were both in Ohio together. I grew up in Ohio, but I went to school in Boston, lived in New York, then moved back to Ohio, which is when we met, and then you got a job at Irrational, which was in Quincy, Massachusetts, and we did long distance for like a year before we got married. And then after we were married, I moved to Massachusetts. Then we lived in Rhode Island. Then we moved to the Bay Area of California for a job that I had, and then we moved to Texas. Did I get all of them?
Yeah,
Wow.
you did.
Yes.
is that typical for game designers and artists and writers and things like that to move around that much, or is that mostly game industry jobs that you were kind of moving for?
I think game industry people move around a lot just because of studios closing and stuff. But I mean, I think that's just our path, because really we only experienced one shutdown, which was Irrational, and then Megan got a job in the Bay Area, and so we shot out over there.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's so much stuff like in LA, right? And we were never really too excited about moving to LA. So I don't know, maybe if we moved to LA, maybe we would stay there because there's so many more opportunities there. But it's just not. We've been there quite a bit. It's a great place. It just doesn't feel like where we would want to live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, but it does seem like game people move around a lot, don't you think?
I think so. Yeah, and it's because of that. I mean, there's studios closing down all the time, and the talent just sort of churns.
Yeah.
And that kind of feeds back into what we were talking about being in the right place when you mean to be, that sort of okay, I've been here long enough, or I'm not comfortable here, or it seems like there's a good balance for when you find your niche and you find what you want to do, then you have to find a place that you feel at home, you know.
Yes, exactly. And I do think for us too, to sort of that point about, you have to, when you're ready to move on, I think for us, in some ways, we'd love to be able to like live someplace for a really long time and sort of create a so-called more normal life, maybe. But I
Normal.
also,
What's normal?
I
That's
know.
actually a serious question.
Well, I mean, maybe more typical. Maybe more people tend to stay in one place longer. We've moved a lot, and our friends kind of joke about it a lot, like, "Oh, they're off on another adventure." Um, and I think it's less about the adventure, but I do think we are very, I don't know, when like a good opportunity comes along, whether it's a job or whether it's an experience or whether it's where we're going to be able to create something new, like we feel like we should explore that. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of like I feel like the places that we've lived has given me like a really unique perspective on people, especially in the U.S. I feel like living on both coasts and in the middle, you start to see that a lot of these a lot of these boundaries and things and ideas that people have about how other people live is just totally artificial and not
Yeah.
real. And that people end up with these biases that are just completely eradicated when you start to talk to people from different backgrounds, and not just within not just American people. We've met people from all over the world living everywhere we've lived, and
Yeah.
it's been really culturally and kind of life-wise enriching. So yeah, I don't think we're afraid of kind of launching into some unknown. I think we've done it enough times now that we know that we can kind of handle it.
Yeah.
But I think
One
that
might say the fear is irrational.
yeah.
Oh my
You got a
god.
lot.
Sorry,
You
sorry, sorry.
got, you got a lot of good one-liners.
Yeah, you do.
Oh man, I love puns. I love
Oh,
one-liners because I can throw them at somebody like when I'm at work or on the podcast or whatever.
It's
And they usually take like a second to go, wait, what? And by that time I'm gone, poof, like a ninja.
that's awesome.
like
Well,
I'll
you got
say
when
something and then it's like, here it comes. It's like, nah. What were you saying?
No, I mean I think it sounds like you guys have a really good plan for it sounds like it'll be good for you to move to Austin and for you all to be, closer together and to get the studio and
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, I'm not necessarily moving to, you know, we could move anywhere. There could be other places that are better for us, but I just, I've been in the Midwest my entire life.
Mhm.
I've gone to like Colorado, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, and then I flew to Indianapolis one time, and that was it. Other than that, I have no experience of the outside world. I'm completely landlocked. So I
Yeah.
figured, if we're gonna take the plunge and go somewhere, let's go somewhere where we know we might have a chance with like friends and yeah,
Yeah.
like the thing with like the studio is like with branching out is I'm I would be looking for more hosts at that point too, like because eventually I want to get to a point where maybe they can record without me if need be, if I'm busy delivering mail. But at the time, with the whole mail system, I get a set schedule here in a few months anyway, so that'd be nice and handy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've never thought of myself of getting into like entertainment or anything. It's not that I'm over the top on podcasts. The whole idea started out as let's just start talk because me and my buddy Cody, who missed this episode, when we get together, I mean we just talk and talk and talk, and we're like, you know what? Let's just start recording this, and maybe we'll get more people in on it and see what happens. And then we're messing with the idea, and then we're like, hey Gelf, you want to join? And hey so and so, and hey so and so, and then it just kind of we all ran with it, and it worked out really well. And everyone's got to mesh together, and so far everyone's having a good time. And we've had a couple cool guests on, and now we have even cooler guests. Oh, there we go. All right, that's the end.
Hey,
That's the end. That's the
connected
end
it.
lighter. All right.
when he messaged me to ask me to be on this podcast, it was one of
She
those
had no
things
faith.
where
It's fine.
no, it really isn't. It was one of those things where I've had friends that were like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this thing and it's gonna be totally awesome. You want in?" And I'm totally there to support my friends in their endeavors, and I'm 100% like dedicated, and I'm super into it. But I also have that sort of not hesitation, but I'm prepared for things to go wrong and to disappear. I mean, it's like a D&D campaign.
Sure.
The more people you get involved, the less chance there is of it actually happening, and you can get 1 or 2 or 3, like you were saying earlier. Some people only get to 3 episodes, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But with this one, it just kept going and going and going, and all
Kept
of a
getting
sudden
better. I love
it
that.
really did. And my entire like schedule, my life turned into, oh, it's Sunday. Cool. I got the podcast and then I got D&D afterwards. Excellent. Or, oh, I can't do that on Sunday. I've got my podcast recording. It wasn't one of those like, oh, you know what? I'll skip on this one podcast. They're not going to miss me. Blah, blah. It's like, no, podcast need to be there.
Right.
You make it sound like I'm demanding. I'm not demanding.
No. I'm saying like this. I'm excited about it. I love it.
I know. Just, oh.
Like website, like, yeah, this website, let's do
Oh.
it. Let's get this set up. And yes, I will get that done tonight, I promise.
No, just divert. No. You heard the light bulb go off. You're like, oh, yep, I just reminded him. Yep. All right.
On purpose.
Yeah. Do we have any closing words? We're about to hit an hour. I just figured I'd.
Oh, already? Oh.
I know.
Yeah, it did go fast.
We'll come back. If you want us to come back, we'll come back.
Yes, part 2 has to happen.
I guess. No, okay. Yeah. Of course. You guys are welcome back whenever. All you have to do is just shoot me a message, because our recording dates are kind of flip-floppy. I think we're starting to record on Fridays now because it just works out easier. We just do an hour or whatever, however long you guys want to do. Like if we do a podcast, you guys can only be there for like 30 minutes. Just let us know, and we'll just record for 30 minutes. You guys drop out, and we'll just continue, or just whenever, really. It doesn't matter to us. Do you guys want to go ahead and
Professionally relaxed.
I like that. Professionally relaxed.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the title of this episode. I like that.
Hey, my one-liners are not just limited to puns and jokes, all right? Just saying.
No, you've had like 10. The other one, like oh man, it was something about writing that's inspiration meets desperation.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back in the recording. I have to do a bunch of editing anyway. I'll just start snagging a whole bunch of them. I'll just send them to you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, those need to be shirts. You need to make shirts. Professionally relaxed.
Oh yeah, hey Gil, tell them your best idea yet.
Oh, my favorite is one day we were closing down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. Oh, okay.
Okay. We were shutting down the podcast, and no, Bernard, you tell the story. You're better at it than I am.
Okay. So during the closing words, we basically our running joke is, and the thing is that we do this on accident every episode, is we stumble into the intro and we stumble out of the intro. Basically, we just kind of like when you're like at an awkward party and you're kind of like trying to like leave, and you're just like, okay, we're leaving, and then people keep trying to talk to you and you just keep backing up. You're like, okay, bye. So basically that's what we do accidentally. We just I just can't seem to belt out that we're leaving. And Gelf was like, all right guys, take it easy, blah blah blah, and remember, be your own purple. And we're all like, what did you just say? And so be your own purple became the most inspirational thing of this entire podcast.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, everyone, please be your own purple.
Yeah.
Be your own purple.
I mean, she just said it so confidently. I'm gonna find that and I'm gonna clip it out. I'm gonna pin it up. It's gonna be awesome.
You must. Saying things with confidence is really the key.
The key is
the
real key is to be your own purple. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We're gonna get shirts made, and you guys are gonna get a package in the mail, and it's gonna be 2 of them, and it's just gonna have a smiley face on a Post-it note stuck to it.
Yes.
I will wear it. I will wear it under my Elizabeth.
I consider that a promise.
Man, we got
shit! Now this actually has to happen.
Yeah. All right.
Making it happen.
You guys want to go ahead and plug all your stuff? Remind people where they can find your book and all that.
Yeah, so you can pick up Zombies Don't Eat Veggies in English and in Spanish. In Spanish it's Los Zombies No Comen Verduras. It's available on Amazon, on IndieBound, and BarnesandNoble.com, as well as Books A Million, and we're pretty much wherever books are sold.
I think you can get most of those links on our website, which
Mhm.
is www.studiolacera.com. Lacera is Lacera. And that's pretty much it, I think.
That's all we've got
Yeah.
to plug right now. Yeah.
We'll
All right,
throw
cool,
a link
yeah.
to those down at the down in the description on the YouTube post as well, just so they're there for people to click.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
awesome.
If you want to DM me on Twitter all the links that you would like posted, just so I can get a reminder. This actually won't be posted until Sunday, so I'll
Okay.
have some time. So if you guys think of something like tomorrow, or it'll be Sunday night, so if you think about something in Sunday morning, just let me know and we'll throw it up. But yeah, we appreciate you guys having on. I love chatting with you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys are welcome back anytime.
We would love to. This was really fun. Thank you for having us, and we're glad that we could continue the relationship that we formed at PAX. It was pretty cool.
So cool.
Thank
Yeah.
you guys. Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
Gelf. Oh, is Gelf muted?
Happy? No, I'm
Oh.
just happy. It's such a cool thing.
Well, I'm about to stop the recording, and you're just like, "Brr." I'm starstruck.
No, this was really cool. This was a very cool experience, and it was one of those things that you guys have come up in my thoughts every once in a while, especially when I'm at work, and then somebody's like,
Jorge
"Hey, I'm
and
looking for
Elizabeth
this."
outfit. Sorry, continue.
Yeah.
But it's just cool that it came back. It's continuing. That I thought, most people I meet at panels, they only meet once, but this is cool because it's returning. I don't know. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. But
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Huh.
Before we end, have you guys seen what Gelf has been making?
No.
What? What did I do?
Just real quick, a few minutes, Gelf. What you been making lately? It's so.
I don't know. What have I been making? Oh, my
Okay.
minis.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So sorry, just got excited. I've been making my husband and I and our friend CJ have been doing miniatures. So mini
Ooh.
beds, mini bookcases, mini walls, mini houses, stuff like that. Not like doll houses, but like Dungeons and Dragons size miniatures.
Okay.
And my favorite part of it is I'm actually making miniature books. And I'm
Oh.
using traditional bookbinding techniques in order to build these, and they're like an inch by 3/4 of an inch big, or half an inch by half an inch
Oh, wow.
in size.
Whoa.
And that's kind of my favorite thing. And one of the things that I've done is I created a book that has the full text of the public domain Dracula printed inside.
Oh,
Whoa.
you have actual words printed in that book?
They're not legible
Oh,
because
okay.
it's like 1-point font, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
That's
you actually took the time to actually somewhat put an actual story in there, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I did drop caps and everything. So the beginning of different paragraphs will have that big word leading, the big letter leading it. So you can
Wow.
see where new paragraphs begin and stuff like that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I need to finish it so I can actually show it off.
That is
Right.
really awesome. That makes Brandon's sending the pictures through, and they're so cool.
Whoa.
It makes me think of two things. One, that movie, that freaky movie, where the lady makes the pictures.
Oh, with
With the
Tony
witches?
Collette.
It sounds
the witches?
familiar.
Oh my gosh!
It's
Okay,
the guy
I'll
who
have to think of
directed
it.
Midsummer, Hereditary.
Yeah, Hereditary. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I made the mistake of seeing that right before I went back to Minnesota for my grandfather's funeral.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So man, I
Very
had
disturbing.
nightmares.
Okay, very disturbing. But that lady was amazing in the movie, and these are really, really cool. And then two, our son loves Dracula. He has been Dracula for Halloween like 4 times, and he's only 7. And
Wow. That's amazing.
yes, yes. I mean, he has like 5 different Dracula capes, and it's just like very into Dracula.
That is so cool.
So he would be huge fan.
Have you seen the movie? It's a documentary called Dwarven Knot or Dwarf Knot.
Oh yeah.
I haven't.
I don't think
It's
so.
on Netflix.
Okay, you need to check this out.
It's an amazing documentary. It's a guy who makes D&D, almost like caves and dungeons for you to play with your miniature. Yep, that's it. The
Oh
dwarf mod.
hell yeah! That's what we're building. We're actually
Yes.
I made a homebrew 5e campaign, and we're building the guest house and the temple from that.
Whoa.
I'll
Cool.
toss pictures. I'll take some pictures and I'll toss them to you on Twitter.
Okay, cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, you should check out this documentary. The guy's amazing. And it gives you a little peek into like the creative process and all that. And
should
it's,
probably meet.
it's right up your alley. And then also one last thing: do you guys do Warhammer at all, or is that no?
Oh, we all are fans of Warhammer 40K and Age of Sigmar,
Okay.
but what?
I haven't a clue. I'll be real honest with you.
Okay, no, that's good. That's fine. I
heard
have
of
a friend of mine does amazing miniature paintings of his Warhammer figures, and I just have such an appreciation for the craftsmanship involved and all this tiny work. It's so
Yeah.
cool. And I'll send you links. His name's Sean Elliott. He's also a game designer, and he does amazing miniature paintings.
I'll send you some pictures of what my husband has been doing because he's a very detail oriented miniature painter as well. And one of the pictures, in fact, did you link the one with the hourglass?
No,
Brandon?
but that's what I was just thinking. I couldn't find the picture of the hourglass, but yeah, that was pretty cool. Go ahead.
But that was I'll send it.
Yeah, send
Great,
it.
great,
Super cool stuff.
amazing.
Wow.
All right, I feel like we've taken enough of their time.
Yeah. I keep hearing our door open and close, so I think Kai is ready for us. Do you hear?
Okay, yeah, he's ready.
That's him. He's like opening it and then closing it, and then opening and closing
It's
it.
time. Oh, there's the hourglass.
There it is.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa,
That was hand lathed. The picture that I posted for listeners is it's on my Instagram. It's a small table that's like maybe twice the width of a quarter, and there's an itsy bitsy little tiny hourglass that was hand lathed from a single piece of scrap acrylic, and then my husband like glued it to the end of a stick and turned it and ground it down with sandpaper, and then buffed it to make it clear again.
That is awesome. Wow, that is so cool. I'm like, I want to sit in on one of your play one of your games. It sounds like it would be fun.
Well, we do. Sorry for the self plug here for Brandon, but we do.
Go ahead.
Monday nights we actually do live crafting. It's all three of us on stream on my channel, and we just build whatever. Last week, we actually did it on Tuesday. As number 3, he built an entire Viking longboat in the space of a single stream.
Wow. Whoa.
Oh
I'm tuning in.
I'm tuning in. Whoa.
It's really cool. It's bizarre. I just sit here in awe. I'm just like, I just don't have the patience for it. It's so tiny and so detailed, but it's so cool.
That is cool.
Well, you guys are doing cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Keep doing it, please.
Yeah, and I can you link me to the stream?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. Great.
We'll just all trade some DMs and get all that settled. So, the Gelf.
DM
oh my
up.
god. Just
Little
Are we
bush.
still recording?
Yes, we are.
Okay, all right, let's shut this down and we can continue this later.
I feel bad. We got to let him go. Thanks again for joining us, guys. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll just.
No
Thank you,
problem.
guys.
Anytime.
Thank you, guys.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, for sure. Have a
Thank
great
you so
night.
much.
Thanks, you guys
You
too.
too.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.